presents a new upcoming class. Stay tuned. Sacred Bonds by Daryl Abdullah Kirk. Yes, Sacred Bonds, navigating the depths of Muslim matrimony and the family. You don't want to miss this one. Please stay tuned. Streaming on all major platforms right here on SunnahFollowers.net.
Alhamdulillah, wa salat, wa salam ala wa Rasulullah. I'd like to welcome everybody to our class. This is our class on the sacred bonds of marriage. The sacred bonds of marriage. And I do have a couple of people here who, inshallah, Allah willing, will be marrying soon. One of them is a new shahada in a couple of months, inshallah. And the other one is a person that was born Muslim. She and her husband are watching together, and her husband to be, and her family. They're not alone. I want you guys to remember, you cannot be alone. You know, you got to have someone with you. So there, she's at her husband to be's family's home, and they're all watching me on the big screen TV. And the reason why they're watching tonight in particular is because I let her know that tonight I'm going to be addressing the role of the wife. The role of the wife. And this is the thing about Islam. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us that before we embark upon anything, we should first investigate and find out the correct way to do it. And today people jump up and get married not knowing what the conditions of a valid marriage are, not knowing what the role of the husband is, the role of the wife, and etc. You have to educate yourself. And this is another thing that separates us from the original companions. They didn't just jump up and do things. They would investigate to find out the correct procedures to follow and all of that. And that's another reason why they were better than us. We're emotional. We don't think things out, whereas the companions thought it out. And that's what we need to do. So tonight's class is for everyone, but particularly for the two sisters, you know, who are planning to marry within the next 2 months. Both of the new Shahada and the old Muslim have asked me. They both have asked me what's the role of the wife in the marriage, and also what's the role of the man. Well, today we're going to just briefly go over the role of the wife, and let's put the PowerPoint up on the screen. And just to say, this is a shout out to my student who wrote this book. This is the book, Sacred Bonds, written by my student, Brother Daryl Abdullah Kirk. He did an excellent job with this chapter because when I was putting the PowerPoint together, there were two things I said I better not see. I said, if there's two things, I said, if I see either one of these two things in this chapter, I was going to go off on Brother Daryl because he's my student. But mashallah, he didn't put neither one of that garbage in here. Okay. He did an excellent job summarizing the role of the wife, you know, in this book. I could tell he's learned from me because he knew what not to do. Literally. Okay. And by the way, hold on for a second. I know I hit that button. I'm working 2 computers here and it's kind of hard for me. Okay, can y'all see it now? Wait a minute, I messed up. Hold on. See, that's why I can't laugh. When I laugh, I mess up. Wait a minute. Let me take the, oh, I'm using the wrong thing. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Where's my Zoom room? I can't find the Zoom room. Hold on. Zoom, and let me click on this. Is this me? Okay, now I'm big. Okay, now let me cut it off in here again. Yeah, this is what happens when you don't have nobody streaming for you. I do my own streaming. So it's kind of complicated. There. Now you guys can see, right? Okay. So like I said, he did an excellent job putting this together. So let's take a look at this. Let me close this box here. I got a bunch of boxes open on my computer. And let's review the role of the wife in Islam. Okay. First of all, when it comes to marriage, the Muslim wife embodies the essence of grace, strength, and devotion. You know, you're basically the rock of the family. You're the guardian over the home. The home is your responsibility as a Muslim woman. It's your husband's responsibility to take care of the outside things. But it's your responsibility to ensure that inside the home is the way it should be. You are the nurturer. You're not only the one who nurtures the children, but you have to also nurture your husband too. So the wife has a very, very, very important role to play in marriage. And today what we're going to do is review several of the most important roles that she's supposed to maintain within the marriage. And everything is based on the Quran and Sunnah. First of all, Allah tells us in the Quran, in the interpretation of the meaning, women have rights similar to those of men in kindness. So this verse of the Quran lets us know that contrary to popular belief, Muslim women are not oppressed in Islam. We have rights just like men have. And when it comes to the family, we have rights too. We already talked about how it's our right to be cared for, provided for, maintained, protected, fed, clothed, given our own place to live, treated with justice and kindness, not abuse. And also, Allah instills mutual respect, mutual love, and mutual cooperation between the husband and wife. Remember, marriage is a partnership in Islam. It's not one-sided. We are partners in life, partners in everything. We make decisions together. We raise our children together. And our Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, provided the best example as to how a husband should be towards his wife, and his wives were the epitome of how Muslim women should be with their husbands. And that's what we're going to focus on today. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam wives were the best example for other women as to what your role is inside the home. The number one role that you play as a wife is you are the support of your husband. Your husband supports you financially and all of that. You are also his emotional and his mental support. You're supposed to stand at his side, not behind him. This is another misconception that people have about Muslim women. We don't walk behind our men and we don't stand behind our man. We stand beside him. We are two halves that make a whole. When your husband needs someone to talk to, you should be the one he come to. Not his mother. No, no, no. Not the imam. Before going to anyone else, your husband should be able to come to you and share with you his fears, his wants, his needs, his failures, and everything else. The Prophet Muhammad's wives were a great example of that. When the Prophet Muhammad had to receive the call to prophethood, who did he run home to? Who did he ask? Was he crazy? It was his wife, Khadijah. She was the only wife he had at that time. She was the one that comforted him. She was the one that calmed him down. She was the one that told him, you're not possessed. You are a good man, Muhammad. She was the one that told him that you have so much good in you that you don't see. How many of us women let our husbands know just how good they are, just how strong they are? Because oftentimes men overlook that, because men are not as emotional as we are. They follow desires. They're more desirable. They have a problem controlling their private parts. Yeah, that's a fact. But they don't have a problem controlling their emotions in general. So a lot of times men overlook the good qualities they have. Men are very critical of themselves. It's your job as a Muslim woman to do like Khadijah radiallahu anha did. Calm him down. Let him know that he has strength within him that he may not even be aware of. And even after Khadijah, every wife the Prophet married after her did the same thing. When he had to go out and to battle, to fight against the Quraysh, he never led an army before. He never fought in a battle like that before. But it was Salama, his wife Salama, not Aisha. It was his wife Salama that calmed him down. In fact, for every battle, anytime the Prophet had to go on the battlefield, who did he go to? It was Salama, who he would take with him to the battlefield. She served as his advisor, his military strategist, his military advisor. And also, subhanallah, not only do you support him when he's going through stress on the job, stress dealing with the enemies out there, but also you should be able to read when he needs that certain comfort too. Aisha radiallahu anha, he could relax in her arms, relax with her. He could play with her. He could joke with her because she was, young and silly. So he could be young and silly with her. He can let go of the troubles of life with her. That's your job as a woman, to know how to unwind your husband. When your husband is stressed out, know how to unwind him. Know what turns him on, what turns him off, what makes him laugh, what makes him cry. That's the support I'm talking about. And when the Prophet Muhammad received inspiration from Allah, when Allah sent the revelations to him, he would go to Hafsa, radiallahu anha. Hafsa was his wife too. She knew how to read. She was the only one who knew how to read and write. She was extremely intelligent. Your husband's going to need that. He's going to need a woman that's intelligent enough to help him make decisions, to help him to understand what a policy is saying on his job, to help him understand, the importance of taking medicine, the importance of of what would happen if you miss this medication. Hafsa was that for the Prophet. Okay? So you have to support him on that type of level too. So this is the number one role that you will play as a Muslim woman who is a wife. You have to be a supportive companion to your husband. You have to stick by him through the good times and the hard times, the sicknesses, and all of that too. His wives were the best example. So should be you. Listen to what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. He said if a woman prays all 5 of her prayers every day, and she fasts the month of Ramadan every year, and she guards her chastity, and she obeys her husband, it will be said to her, enter paradise through whichever gate you wish. The prophet's wives did that. They fulfilled their obligations to Allah first and foremost. And they were there for their husbands. They obeyed him. They knew how to read him. They supported him. How many of us are doing that? For you sisters that's looking to get married in the next few months, this is your number one job. You got to be a supportive companion to him. Make decisions with him. Advise him. Comfort him. Know when to make him laugh. Help him to unwind. Oh, yeah, I'd make a good wife. One of the brothers here types, he said, Laila, you make a good wife. Oh, yes, I would. That's the problem. That's why I ain't married. I was a darn good wife to every husband I had. They'll tell you. She was a good one. I let a good one get away. Yes, you did, bro. I did my job. My marriages didn't end up in divorce because of me. I was too good for the brothers to believe. To be honest, they couldn't believe how good I was. That's how they blew it. Okay? It ain't no going back. It's a joke, bro. All right. So that's the first job you have. You're the supporter. You're your husband's support. And then the second most important job you have is the obedience. And obedience in Islam does not mean that you are a servant to a man. We are not servants to anyone except Allah. Instead, obedience embodies a sense of humility and trust to Allah's commandments. We're obedient to Allah. And by being obedient to Allah, in turn, we fall into obedience with our husbands. Does everybody understand that? I'm getting ready to break that down. Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning. Men are in charge of women by right of what Allah has given them over the other and what they spend for maintenance. What Allah is saying in this verse is the reason why men are in charge of us is because Allah has given them physical strength over us. They're stronger than us physically. And also because of their physical strength, Allah has made them the provider, the maintainer, the protector. And that's a lot. It's hard to provide, maintain, and protect. So that's why men are over us. If you sisters marry the right type of man, if your guardians married you to men who were, first of all, righteous with Allah and who knew their job, knew their obligations and fulfilled them, then obedience would just fall right in hand. Okay? You know, and when we talk about obedience, first of all, we have to understand what we're supposed to obey our husbands in. Just like Allah has commanded for men to be the provider, maintainer, and protector, Allah commands you women to understand what your role is, what the man's rights are over you. Number one, you do not allow anyone, I repeat, you do not allow anyone into his home without his permission. That means even if your husband said he doesn't want your mother to come over, you cannot let your mother come over. That's his right because he pays the bills there. Also, The other right he has is that you don't leave the home without his knowledge and without his approval. Again, he's your protector. How can he be held accountable for protecting you if he didn't know where you were? So he has the right that you not allow anyone in his home without his approval, and that you yourself don't leave the home without his approval. And the third right is that if you do leave the home, that you don't embarrass him. You don't humiliate him in your appearance and and how you interact with people. In other words, when you leave the home, you make sure that you are dressed the way Allah commands us to dress, and that you carry yourself as a Muslim woman with dignity, humility, and intimidation. We have to be intimidating as Muslim women when we go out the house publicly. That'll keep the non-Muslim men away from us. And that'll also keep the Muslim men with bad desires away from us too, because those type of men only prey upon weak women. If you're intimidating, they're going to back away from you. So that's what's meant by guard in your husband's absence. What he'd have you guard. That means your character, your behavior, your person, and also his house, his children. Those are the rights your husband have over you. Those are the things you obey him in. Does everybody understand that? Listen to what the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said. The best of you is the one who is best to his family, and I am best amongst you to my family. This is what the Prophet was saying to the men. A good man is one who's good to his family. A good man is not going to impose conditions upon his wife or his children that Allah didn't command him to impose. For example, I hear this nonsense all the time, and I'm always bringing it up. My husband wants me to cover my face and cover my hands to please him. Should I do it to please him? Heck no. First of all, Allah says that he doesn't reward any of us for anything that we do for the sake of anyone other than him alone. So no, I ain't covering my face up for that reason. Number two, the best of you are those who are best to your family. Did the Prophet Muhammad command his wives to cover their faces? No. I keep telling you, sisters, this misconception that Muslims have today, that the Prophet's wives walked around in burqas, this is a lie. The Prophet's wives didn't wear burqa. First of all, burqa is not even part of the Arab women's dress. You got us mixed up with Turkish women. We didn't wear burqas and still don't. Okay? You have to learn your religion, sisters. Allah doesn't command us to cover our face, and nor does he command us to cover our gloves, to wear gloves. My God, the Prophet's wives lived in the desert. Can you imagine walking in the desert with a fur coat on, a burqa, and some gloves? Are you crazy? Unless it's cold at night. Because the desert does get cold. Okay? So first of all, what righteous man is going to order you or command you to do something that would be oppressive for you? That's why y'all got to be careful the type of men you marry. That should have been checked out before you married him. What you're an oppressive dude wanting me to walk around looking like that? I'm sorry, that ain't my nature. That ain't me. So we obey our husband in the things that Allah commanded us to obey our husbands in. That doesn't mean that our husbands can impose upon us to do things that Allah didn't say we have to do. Remember, everything we do as Muslims, male and female, we do for the sake of Allah alone. And a Muslim woman's dedication to her husband should stem from her sincere desire to please Allah by obeying Allah. That's where that comes from. I'm going to obey you in everything that Allah commanded me to obey you in, because I worship Allah. I don't worship you, Aki. And by obeying Allah, what does Allah say in that beautiful hadith Qudsi? If we live our lives earning the love of Allah, then Allah will love you. And when Allah loves you, he will call the angel Jibreel to him. And he will say, Jibreel, I love so-and-so. So I want you to love that person too. And then the angel Jibreel will announce to all the other angels that Allah loves so-and-so, and they should love him too. And then the angels of mercy will descend to the earth, and they will cause the people here on earth who should love you to love you too. So as a Muslim woman, we obey our husband in the things that Allah commanded us to obey him in, because we're doing it for Allah. Because by earning Allah's love, in turn, Allah will soften your husband's heart and cause his heart to love you. Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning. So righteous women are devoutly obedient, and they guard in their husband's absence what Allah would have them guard. Y'all see that verse? It doesn't say what the man would have you guard, what Allah would have you guard. Do y'all see that again? A lot of people take the word Allah out and they say, what my husband. No, we don't worship you. We don't lick pus off our husband. We don't lick his blood. We don't bow and prostrate to no man. This is all a lie that people make up, that they took the hadiths, the metaphors. They took the metaphors that the prophet used out of context. That was a metaphor that the prophet Muhammad used to show how important, how the man is over the woman. He did not say that a woman prostrates and licks a man and worships him. No. What does Allah say? Allah says that the righteous women guard in the husband's absence what Allah would have you guard. Allah says guard your chastity. Allah says don't allow anyone in your husband's house without your husband's approval. Allah says don't you go nowhere without your husband's approval. Allah says it's your job to cook, to clean, and take care of the home. Allah says it's your job to nurture the children and teach them the deen. That's what you guard. Everybody understand that? So don't get it twisted. This obedience thing is taken totally out of context. If your husband tells you to do anything that contradicts what Allah says, or if your husband tells you to do anything that's going to come between you and your relationship with Allah, you refuse him. You refuse him. Do you women understand me? If your husband tells you that he doesn't want you wearing a hijab, you refuse him. You say, no, my obedience is to Allah, not to you. If your husband wants to take away the rights that Allah has given you, Allah has said that we women are beautiful. Allah loves beauty. I can be beautiful. Allah has given Muslim women the right to wear any color she wants to. Allah has given us the right to wear makeup, to wear jewelry. If your husband wants to take Allah's rights away from you, you tell him, no way, Jose. The prophet didn't take away his wives' right to be beautiful. He didn't take away their rights to wear jewelry or makeup. They wore makeup and they wore jewelry and they wore beautiful colors and they wore silk and brocade. Listen to what the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said. He said, there is no obedience to the creation in disobedience to the Creator. So I'm not going to obey any human being on this planet who tries to tell me to do something that contradicts what Allah says, or who tries to tell me to do anything that's going to destroy my relationship with Allah. We have a high apostasy of Muslim women in America because Muslim women married men who broke them, who stripped them of their femininity, who stripped them of the rights that Allah gave the woman. Don't let that happen to you. That's why whoever you sisters plan on marrying, you let your guardians do a thorough background check to make sure that these are not the type of men that are known for breaking women. Everybody understand that? Because in Islam, Allah comes first. Then comes the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then comes yourself. I don't love anyone more than me except the Prophet Muhammad and Allah, not even my mother. My mother can't tell me that I can't wear a hijab. Not even my daughter. My daughter can't tell me to take off my hijab. And definitely not no man. No husband can tell me to take it off, or don't wear makeup, or don't be beautiful. No, you're not stripping me of nothing that Allah has given me. Do you women understand? So that basically, in a nutshell, is the role of the Muslim woman.